spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football, the only NFL show that gives you everything you need to know each day in just 30 minutes. My name is Brian McFadden. We had a slight schedule adjustment. Joining me to be my guest and recap all of the action from yesterday in Week 6 of the NFL is my producer, back from behind the scenes, Anthony Wehner. Anthony, are you ready to talk some football Week 6?
I am definitely ready. I really enjoyed this week, and I feel like it was a week of underdogs, so it's really exciting when that happens.
And your Lions didn't have to play and therefore didn't have to lose. That automatically puts you in a better perspective, correct?
Yes, it does.
Right, so we're going to be digesting all of the action from yesterday. From Sunday, we will also take a little bit of time to preview Monday Night Football, Chargers versus Broncos, AFC West, a matchup that had a lot bigger implications and hype before the season started. We'll have to see if that Broncos offense actually comes to play and if that Chargers defense actually can stand up. Should at least be more entertaining than some of the other primetime games we've had, certainly the Thursday night games the past 2 weeks. Today's show is presented by Prize Picks. Don't forget, guys, to use code LEGIT if you're a new Prize Picks owner. I will have a little bit of a blurb during halftime so you can get a little bit more info on Prize Picks and how to do player props there. Anthony, are you ready to get this Monday party started?
I'm ready.
All right. As you know, since Anthony's the producer, he has to also man the timer. So he's just going to have the timer running right in front of him. Let's go ahead and get it set, Anthony. Get to that 15 minutes because 30 minutes of football with Legit Football starts now. All right. So let's go ahead and bring up the picks from this past week. With one game remaining, I am currently at 7-6. There were 14 games, so I'm at 7-6. So once again, 6 weeks in, guaranteed not to have a losing record. It would be nice to have like a 10-4 week one of these weeks. I'm hoping that'll come, but at least I have not gone below 500 a single time. I could end up with a winning record if the Chargers cover. We'll talk about that, but let's start, unfortunately, with the quarterback rotation room with the Miami Dolphins hosting the Minnesota Vikings. I picked Miami to lose, but to cover. I just figured Minnesota has yet to cover. I think they're 1-4 against the spread coming into this game. I felt good that the Dolphins could at least keep it close. They did early on. The Vikings actually couldn't move the ball at all. They had 10 3-and-outs in this game. The Vikings had 10 3-and-outs in this game, but Skylar Thompson, who actually was looking pretty good to start the game, ends up getting injured. Teddy Bridgewater comes in. Doesn't quite have the pop that Thompson has, at least he did early in this game. A lot of mistakes on the Miami side, penalties, sacks. There were multiple starting offensive linemen that missed this game due to injury. What are your thoughts on Miami losing 24-16?
So I was excited to see Skylar Thompson play and to see him go out like that and just like start throwing it like he was. It was fun. I was really excited to see him play, actually. Then he got hurt, and I'm like, uh-oh, what's going to happen now? Hill and Waddle had a combined 306 yards, but they lost the turnover battle, and that's what lost them the game. So I think if they could have avoided those turnovers, and if Skylar Thompson stayed in, this could have been a win for them, but it didn't happen like that.
2 of those were on Jalen Waddle. The very crucial interception that Teddy Bridgewater actually wasn't his fault, where he did throw a bad interception, but this one was right off of Waddle's hands, went into the safety Anthony Harrison for the Vikings, and then later, when they were driving to hopefully take the lead, Jalen Waddle, fresh off like a 25-yard reception, ends up losing a fumble. The next drive, Dalvin Cook breaks off a huge run and effectively seals the game. Good news for Miami is Tua is geared to be back. He's already cleared protocol. They didn't activate him for last game, but all reports are that he is set to start Week 7 against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Hopefully that's Miami's chance to turn it around. They've now lost 3 in a row. New England Patriots traveling to the Cleveland Browns. It's nice that you mentioned underdogs in a weekend full of upsets. I picked a lot of the upsets that I picked came true, but then a lot of the favorites lost, which kind of balanced it out, that I thought were slam dunks. But here is one of the ones that I was just convinced that Bill Belichick, playing a quarterback that he used to coach, going up against a team whose very clear and obvious strength is one thing, running the ball, that Belichick would come in with a game plan to absolutely dominate the Browns, and it played out exactly like that. Jacoby Brissett threw 3 interceptions. This was absolutely by far his worst game this year. Nick Chubb and the whole Browns rushing attack finished with under 100 yards. So Belichick came in. He knew who to shut down the run game. Bailey Zappi actually played very effectively, over 300 yards in this win, and they both win and cover decisively, 38-15.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about how good the defense did all day, but the offense controlled the ball, and they had to. And with Bailey Zappi getting 39 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Ramondre Stevenson also with 2 touchdowns, they're grinding on both. They're riding on their offense and defense, and they're really looking good. I mean, you can argue that they weren't playing against a very good team with the Browns, but they've been connecting. We weren't expecting it. We weren't expecting New England to have this kind of game.
I picked it. I predicted.
Before the season started. We weren't expecting this before the season. And I mean, could Bailey Zappi be the next Tom Brady? I know that's really crazy to say, but it's looking that way.
Well, I think that is crazy, but could Bailey Zappi be the future starting quarterback of the Patriots? Let's just start there. Mac Jones has been out the last 2 games, and Bailey Zappi has won the last 2 games. And almost beat the Packers a few weeks back, where he, had to come in to replace Mac Jones when he got injured, and actually took him to overtime. Zappi has been good. He works well in this offense. He does what he needs. He's patient. He throws to open receivers. He's not wowing anybody physically, but then again, neither is Mac Jones. So that is something to monitor going forward with the Patriots on a 2-game winning streak. Do they continue to go with the rookie when their quarterback, who was pretty clear the best rookie quarterback last year, has not started off hot?
I mean, what's better than an organization having to choose between 2 quarterbacks? Dallas has the same thing, because you're winning. So having to choose between 2 quarterbacks is it's a GM's wish. They want that. They want to have to choose, because then they're fighting and they're trying to win as many games as they can, and it comes out on top for them. So, I mean, I think they're happy about it personally.
They are, but Dallas is actually a bad comparison, because Cooper Rush threw 3 interceptions and finally
came back down last night too, but
we will talk to that. We will talk about that game, but he's no longer undefeated. Another underdog pick that I correctly picked to both win and to cover, and they did it even more decisively than I thought it would. Atlanta Falcons at home. San Francisco was 5.5-point favorites, but there were so many injuries on San Francisco. Nick Bosa didn't. The entire starting defensive line for the 49ers didn't play. Emmanuel Mosley was lost for the season last week. Charvarius Ward, their other starting corner, got injured early in this game. You don't have Trent Williams on the offensive side of the ball. So then it comes down to Atlanta scoring a defensive touchdown off a Jeff Wilson fumble. Atlanta just playing that smash mouth, run the ball. Marcus Mariota threw the ball 14 times in this game total, and he only had 1 incompletion. So Mariota does what he needs to. He's efficient. He uses his legs. The offense was able to make plays when they needed to. Kyle Pitts scores his first touchdown on U.S. soil. So not a huge game, but he still got in the end zone. But this ground game, they continue to control the clock. This is exactly how I expected it to play out. I wasn't all that confident, but maybe I should have been more confident. Atlanta's looking frisky now at 3-3.
Yeah, when AJ Terrell got into the end zone after that fumble, I think that really set a tone for Atlanta, because after that, they controlled the game. Mariota got into the 2 touchdowns in the air and then 1 on the ground. They were connecting really well, and I think San Francisco made some mistakes, and Atlanta capitalized on them.
I know that the Falcons lost to the Bucs last week, but in a week where Atlanta won against a Niners team that so many consider to be one of the best in the NFC, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to the Steelers. We're going to talk about that game in a second. Yes, Tampa now technically has the edge from the head-to-head, but these teams are both 3-3 in the NFC South. Can Atlanta make a run at this division? Is that crazy to think?
I think they might. I mean, that's what it's looking like, because Tampa Bay's not looking like they did last year, and Atlanta it seems like they're finding their way, and I could see them leading the division. Yeah, I could.
I have been on this Falcons team since the offseason. I never claimed that they were going to win the division. I'm not going to go that far, but I was just saying these guys are going to be better than people think. They're well coached. They have some young talent, but they're exceeding even my expectations. Let's go to that Tampa Bay Bucks game. I don't know anybody who in their right minds would have picked Pittsburgh to win. Maybe to cover the 8.5 points. I didn't like the point spread. But after Pittsburgh just lost 38-3 to the Bills, I figured that Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh was missing. Not only they have one of the worst pass rushers in the NFL right now without T.J. Watt, they also were missing multiple defensive backs, including Minka Fitzpatrick, who didn't play in this game. And it didn't matter. Tampa Bay had trouble. They would move the ball fairly well, but they had trouble converting their red zone trips into touchdowns. They had 3 field goals to start the game. It didn't matter who was playing quarterback for the Steelers. Kenny Pickett came in and led a drive to take a touchdown drive to give the Steelers the lead early. He gets out of the game with a concussion. Guess what? Mitchell Trubisky comes in. He leads a nice scoring drive to keep the Steelers on top, and they win at home. Mike Tomlin, what a great coaching job. Steelers beat the Bucs 20-18. My question to you is, what's up with this Tampa Bay team? This offense, this is now not a fluke. They have their players healthy. We can't say it's an injury thing. How concerned are you if you're a Bucs fan?
28% on third down. They went 28% on third down, and you have to convert third downs if you want to win games. And the fact that they couldn't do that really makes you question how this offense is going to continue performing. I mean, if they're going to be doing this bad, then call the season over, Tom Brady retires, because it's just not looking good for them. And this was the run that Tom Brady needed because he's probably going to retire. He came out of retirement to bring Tampa Bay to a supposed Super Bowl.
It's costing him his marriage.
Exactly.
It's costing him his marriage.
So 28% on third down is not good if you're the Tampa Bay offense. So if I was a Tampa Bay fan, I would start panicking. I would start thinking, who's going to be our quarterback now? Because it looks like it's over.
This is a Steelers defense that allowed the Browns to just move the ball at will, allowed the Patriots, who, yes, they're getting better and more efficient, but there's nobody's idea of a high-powered offense. And then the Bills, of course, which we mentioned, just absolutely ran roughshod off them last week. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can't muster more than 18 points. There is something. Brady was missing throws. He was not as accurate as he normally is. I think this is real concern if you're a Bucs fan, something to monitor. Let's go ahead. Another NFC South team, New Orleans Saints, hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow shows up in a Jamar Chase LSU number 1 jersey. For that reason alone, on DraftKings, I played the ESPN Fantasy Focus free roll where they give, it's like 3,000 plus people play, and it's for free, and you can win up to $100 if you get first. It's DFS. I won the contest out of 3,200 people.
Oh.
I put the Jamar Chase Burrow stack. I played Deion Jackson. I played Ramondre Stevenson. I just had hits left to right. I played the Atlanta defense as my defense, who got that defensive touchdown. But the Bengals, Jamar Chase finally shows up, 130 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow with multiple touchdowns, over 300 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. This is the Cincinnati offense we've been waiting to see. They finally came alive in the second half here, 30-26 victory over the Saints on the road.
To see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase do what they did in the national championship at that very stadium was pretty cool to see. I mean, they had to win that game because that really shows that they still have that chemistry and that Cincinnati's offense is still as good as it was when they made a Super Bowl run. So I want to see how the rest of the season plays out for the Cincinnati Bengals, because right now it's looking good.
Quick shout out to Tanner Pfeiffer. He is one of the newest members of the Legit Football family. He is going to be on our show tomorrow and Tuesdays going forward. Tanner saying hi in the chat. Just wanted to say hi back. We'll see you tomorrow. Look forward to having you on and continuing to work with you going forward. All right, so not a lot more to say about this. This was my most confident pick. I will say this, of my confident, if you're following my confidence ratings, New England 12 confidence got it right. Tampa Bay 11. Well, I don't think many people would have guessed that. Cincinnati, my most confident pick, got that right. The other two that were double digits were Arizona, Seattle. We'll get to that. Got that wrong. But LA, covering the 10.5 over Carolina, got that right. So a pretty good week for the picks and the confidence meter. Looks like we got just under 3 minutes to go. Let's talk about the New York teams. Let's talk about, you mentioned the underdogs. These are the real underdogs. We say underdogs.
Yes, for sure.
These teams are 9-3 combined right now. Let's start in the Meadowlands. The New York Giants hosting the Baltimore Ravens. I picked the Giants to cover, but I did not think they would win. And wow, the way they ended that game, intercepting Lamar Jackson, and then Kayvon Thibodeau getting a strip sack to recover and seal the game. This was not a great offensive performance by the Giants. In fact, the Ravens had over 400 yards of offense. The Giants had 200 something. Yes, Saquon Barkley had a touchdown, but he had, I think, like 80 total yards. This was not a just amazing performance. However, this Brian Dable-led team is finding ways to win.
I mean, when do we start saying Brian Dable could be coach of the year? When do we put him on that?
Right, he's there now. He's there now.
He's gotta be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very early in the season. We have 18 weeks. We're in week 6, right? So as far as the season, we're a third in. But if the season ends right now, it's Dable, and it's not even close.
Oh, for sure. And I watched this Giants game very closely yesterday because I want to know, are the New York Giants for real? Because I'm still not believing. But after that game, just watching the defense and how they operated against Baltimore, which is one of the top scoring offenses right now, and to watch them stop them and end up winning in the last minutes, I think I might have to say I believe the New York Giants. I think I believe in them. So I think they proved that to me yesterday.
I continue to say it. I moved them up in my personal power rankings last week because of how well there has to be a point when you can't just say, oh, they got lucky. Okay, well they're now 5-1. There's only a handful of teams who have 5 wins or better. I think there's maybe 4 at this point. The Giants are finding ways to win. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the roster looks like on paper.
Right.
You win games, you deserve some accolades. I will continue to bet on this Giants team as long as they continue to be playing this way. Forget how it looks on paper. Their top receiver had like 30 yards receiving. That doesn't seem to matter. This team is finding ways to win. That is coaching. I love it. I'm all about the Dable experience. Let's cover the last New York game before halftime. New York Jets also picked them to cover. Did not think they would beat the Packers. Not only did they beat the Packers, they whooped them. 27-10, wasn't close. This defense absolutely harassed Aaron Rodgers. You've got Sauce Gardner wearing the cheese head at the end. 20 seconds left. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, Breece Hall was very fun to watch. And then there's the A.J. Dillon and Rodgers turnover. And then we had Sauce Gardner with 2 pass deflections. And he was amazing in the secondary. And
Quinnen Williams, absolutely a terror on the defensive line. 10 pressures.
Yeah, I tweeted, it's halftime. I tweeted Pro Football Demon. I said, I need to announce this because I'm proud of it. I picked the Jets to win, and I bet them on the money line, and I was right. Because I knew.
Oh, you actually put the money on them.
Put the money on it, yes.
I love it. Did you win money overall for the weekend?
I did, yes.
There you go. That's all we could ask for. No wonder you're in such a good mood. Your Lions didn't play, so they didn't lose. You called some great upsets, including the Jets winning, and you won money. Glad to hear it, Anthony. Let's go ahead and take this opportunity to tell you guys about Prize Picks. If any of you like to do player props, that's all it is. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. All you have to do is pick players to get either more or less than their projection. Could not be any more simple. You can 10x your entry, make 10 times as much as you put in just by getting all 4 picks correct. That's it, 4. Pick 4, get those 4 right. You actually get 10 times the money that you put in. Legit Football, we're participating in what we're calling the Prize Picks Challenge. This week, our goal is to accurately predict at least 6 of 10 more or less projections. So if you subscribe to the Legit Football newsletter, every Monday and Thursday throughout October, we're going to give you who we think are going to do more or less out of 10. You just pick those 4 that you like the best. You go to Prize Picks, use code LEGIT, L-E-G-I-T, do those player props, get 4 right, 10x your money. You can put in $5 and win $50. It's that simple. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states and has a pristine 4.8 rating on the App Store from over 38,000 reviews. Don't take our word for it. Go and play it. I play it myself. Anthony plays it. If you use code LEGIT, they'll match up to $100 of whatever you put in that first time deposit. So it's free money. That's it. LegitFootball.com. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. Anthony, you're in the guest chair. Any halftime words here?
Play Prize Picks. Check out the Legit Football newsletter. I'm not just saying that because Brian pays me. I'm saying that because I like it. I read it every morning. I look forward to waking up and reading about that day. I absolutely love it, and I definitely recommend it. It's a 5-minute read. You know, when you're on the toilet in the morning after your cup of coffee, it's a good distraction. So
why is that? Why do they have to be on the toilet? They could be like sitting on their balcony or just literally sitting at their kitchen table. You had to go there, Anthony, didn't you? It's a Lions fan for you. Your head's in the toilet. All right, let's use that opportunity to go ahead and jump into the second half. You got the timer there ready, Mr. Producer.
All right.
Boom. All right, let's go ahead and bring the picks back up. And have the nice little prize picks going on. Okay, so any last words? We kind of cut you off. Any quick words, a little bit more thoughts on the Jets? Is this sustainable? They're now 4-2. They're now second place in the AFC East. This is a team that if the season ended now, they would be in the playoffs. We're talking about playoffs for the Jets here. I know it's early, but they've now knocked off the Packers in Lambeau. Any thoughts either about issues with Green Bay or how good can this Jets team continue to be?
I think Green Bay could have played as good as they can, and the Jets still would have stopped them. So I noticed that Dubs got targeted 9 times and only caught 4 of those passes because Sauce Gardner was on him. I mean, are we thinking defensive rookie of the year or not? Like, I know it's too early to say that, but to watch him coverage, like I watched this YouTube video where it shows every play that was passed towards Gardner, and I watched it, and I'm like, that athleticism, I have not seen that from him all season. And you're playing a Packers team that in Lambeau that you're usually scared to play. No one likes playing the Packers in Lambeau, but they did, and they won. So I think that they are for real.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm going to do it twofold. The Jets are for real. There's so much. We were saying how talented they were, how good a draft they had, the additions they've made in the offseason. GM Joe Douglas really brought a team to play, and maybe they just hadn't meshed yet. Well, we're seeing the mesh. This, if you look at the roster, and the Giants, it's a little bit harder to say that, but this Jets team is actually kind of stacked with talent. If they can come together, and if they're finally playing well under Robert Saleh, this is a team to watch out for. And on the other side of the ball, Green Bay has real issues. They've now lost to the Giants and Jets in consecutive weeks. I know we just talked about how good both of those teams have been playing, but they have a real identity crisis on offense. They do not have a consistent passing game. Their running game has been bottled up because now defenses are realizing they can kind of key in on that. And their defense, which looks so good on paper, has just been so susceptible. 27 points led up to the Jets. Let's go to the AFC South. I incorrectly picked this one. I was right for most of the game. Indianapolis Colts were favored by 1.5 at home, but we watched the Jaguars. The last 2 times these Jaguars played the Colts, they decimated them, both in Week 18 last year and Week 2 this year. And then they started off with a big lead here. Jacksonville was running the ball well. Trevor Lawrence actually played efficiently. But at the end of the day, the Colts finally, Jimmy, if you're listening from NFL Stats, congrats to your Colts. The Colts finally showed up and won a game where they had to make plays on offense.
2 weeks ago, Jacksonville blew out Los Angeles Chargers, and we're sitting here thinking, okay, is this Jacksonville team like going to be one of the better ones? And then they went back down. Like their stock is.
They made it into the top 10 in our power rankings.
They did, and then they're like, "Oh, I don't like it here," so they start losing again. And so
they were unfamiliar with being that high. It threw them off.
I have to mention though the 60-yard touchdown by JaMychal Hasty because that was a fun play. But what really impressed me was Matt Ryan going back in time to his prime and passing for 389 yards for 3 touchdowns, 134 of those to Pittman. Like he did well. I mean, that's the best I've seen Matt Ryan play as a Colt against Jacksonville, and I think that they deserve this win.
That's what I mean. That's what we've been looking for the Colts to show some grit. We've been looking for Indianapolis to step up and go out there and make plays. I don't consider what they did last week. Stephen Gilmore made the play against Denver, sure, but that was more like the Broncos imploding. Whereas and what's their other victory against the Chiefs was the Chiefs imploding. This was not the Jags imploding. The Jags didn't play awful. They played much better than they did the week before against the Texans. This was just the Colts saying, we need to go out there and get a victory. I think Matt Ryan had 56 pass attempts. They had every intention to just air it out. Shout out to Alec Pierce, rookie Alec Pierce getting his first touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown there. If the Colts can continue to play like this, they were my pick to win the division. They've got a shot in what is still a wide-open AFC South.
Before we move on, do you know who Deion Jackson is?
I told you I started him in my DFS.
I have a funny story.
Let's go.
So right before it was 9:59, 1 minute before the fantasy locks in, right? And so 1 minute before it locks in, I picked up Deion Jackson and put him on my lineup. As soon as it hit 10 o'clock, I made it just in time, and I get 28 points. And I'm like, I did that like maybe 25 seconds before it locked in, and it was amazing to see that happen.
You just had everything work for you this weekend, didn't you?
Yes,
You should have played some lottery tickets.
Right.
You just, hopefully things don't come crashing down when the Lions play the Cowboys next week. But you know what, Anthony? We're not talking about that yet. This is not the
Right.
week preview show. You are going to revel. Your Lions didn't lose this weekend. You won money. You got Deion Jackson in your fantasy lineup. All is well in the universe. All right, we got a few more games to recap, and then I do want to have a little bit of time to talk about this Chargers-Broncos matchup. It's a little spicier than some of the other like TNF matchups we've had recently, so I want to give it a little bit of time and try not to go to overtime today.
Cool, let's do it.
Arizona Cardinals, this was my second most confident pick. I had every confidence that as bad as Arizona has been through most of the quarters each game this year, that they could put up enough points against this dreadful Seahawks defense. Marquise Brown has looked good. I like Benjamin. I think he provides a spark. Kyler Murray making plays with his legs. And the Seattle's defense has just been a sieve. It's just like whoever wanted to, move against them, they could. And they were just winning the game because Geno was winning it. Then the Seattle decided to flip the script. Geno actually didn't look all that great. He was the least efficient he's been all season. But the defense holds the Cardinals to 9 points. This was rock bottom so far this season for the Arizona Cardinals, losing 19-9 to their division rival.
Kyler Murray had 222 pass yards and 100 rush yards, but threw an interception and never found the end zone. So, he's putting up numbers, but he's not putting up points. And Kenneth Walker with 97 yards and a touchdown to lead Seattle to a victory. I'm a Kenneth Walker fan. He was a Spartan last year. Go Green. And so it's really exciting to see him have the starting job and play like he is playing.
I will say this. I've been harsh on Seattle. Geno Smith, I finally came around. I ate my crow for Geno Smith. But the one thing I'm going to give them kudos in is this draft class. Their GM, John Schneider, Pete Carroll, they've gotten so much production from multiple rookies. They have 2 rookies, defensive backs. One of them is Kobe Bryant. The other one, his name is slipping, but he's got 4 interceptions in 4 games. The 2 of them, he leads the NFL in turnovers because he also has a fumble recovery. He's forced 5 turnovers this year. Kobe Bryant has forced 4 fumbles. That's the most fumbles of any player this year. And then there are 2 offensive linemen, Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas. They're 2 tackles playing well enough to give the offense time to, whether it's Geno cooking or, as you mentioned, Kenneth Walker really looking like he was a steal. This rookie class for Seattle looks great. So for all the issues we felt they had talent-wise, they lost Russell Wilson, they lost Bobby Wagner. This team is competitive. They came to play on the other side of the ball. We mentioned in the preseason that I thought Cliff Kingsbury could be a coach in the hot seat. I actually got a lot of heat for that on Twitter because people are like, no, he just signed an extension. Him and Steve Keim both got extended. They're not going anywhere. I'm like, yeah, but if this Cardinals team sucks again, it was an utter collapse last year. And here they are with the losing record. They do get DeAndre Hopkins back, but they lost Marquise Brown for the next 6 weeks. He's going to have surgery. So not looking good for Arizona. They do have a short week. They play the Saints. That's the Thursday night game this week. We don't have to give them any more time. Let's go to the LA Rams. I mentioned that playing the Carolina Panthers could not have lined up any better for a Rams team that has just looked lost. They got beat down by the Cowboys the week before. And then they get the Panthers with a brand new coaching staff and a PJ Walker at quarterback. And then PJ Walker gets injured and leaves. And this Carolina team was like, Christian McCaffrey had like 150 yards of offense and the rest of the team had 50 yards of offense. It didn't line up well, and it played out like that. The Rams actually found a running game short of all the Cam Akers mystery, and he's out. Darrell Henderson goes in, scores a touchdown. They had over 100 yards rushing, I believe, for the first time this season. Cooper Kupp, efficient as always. Allen Robinson actually had himself a game, caught a touchdown, and the Rams win 24-10. This Panthers team, and the touchdown for Carolina was a pick six, which is Stafford's thing. But man, this Panthers team is they're going to get the number 1 seed at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean they have to. And PJ Walker and Jacob Eason combined only 119 pass yards, and yeah, they were winning in the first half, but then there was a 17-point second half shutout, and that's the Rams team that we all remember. And so let's just see if they can keep that up. I mean, you're against a bad team, so it's really hard to tell.
The Rams have a bye, so they got their moral victory just in time to get a bye, and then they play the Niners for the second time after the bye in Week 8. So that's a matchup to keep an eye on. Talking about matchups to keep an eye on, can we just go ahead and pencil the Bills and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? Yes, I know they're both in the AFC,
Let's do it.
there's no way that any two teams are going to be as fun to watch as these two teams.
Yeah.
Every time they play, it feels like the two best teams in the NFL. It feels like it comes down to the wire, and it does. I think there was a stat that in the 2 games last year, they were tied after the first quarter, tied after the second quarter, tied after the third quarter. Guess what? It happened again. Tied after the first quarter, tied after the second quarter, tied after the third quarter. In the end, Josh Allen besting Patrick Mahomes because Allen hurdling over defenders, throwing an absolutely beautiful dime to Dawson Knox to take the lead, and then Mahomes on the other end getting pressured by Von Miller, throwing the interception. Bills win 24-20. They win and cover, as I predicted. Your thoughts?
What a game. I enjoyed every second of that game. And I just want, right before halftime, 98 yards to score a touchdown to Gabe Davis. And then Patrick Mahomes getting the ball back, going in range of 62-yard field goal and making it. Like, what's more exciting than these two teams? And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that they end up as the number 1 and number 2 seeds, because I hope we at least get to see them in the AFC Championship game. That epic game last year was the division. It wasn't even the championship game, obviously, because the Chiefs ended up playing the Bengals. We have a question in the chat, and I actually do want to address this. Let's take the question quickly, then we'll talk about Dallas, Philadelphia, then we'll move to Monday night. Taco Frog 88, with the Texans firing Jack Easterby, which is way overdue. Do you guys think the Texans can finally move in the right direction? Anthony, your thoughts first on this.
Yes, I think they've been through enough trouble that it's finally time to see a silver lining. And I think that might be that silver lining. I think now they can make the right decisions and possibly find their way back up. I do think so, yes.
I think this shows that this is Nick Casario's team. I don't think Lovie Smith is the long-term future at coach there. I think most of us don't think that, but there was always that shadow hanging above as Jack Easterby. He's the mastermind, right? He's the one who's orchestrated all this stuff, and the Texans have all the bad juju with the Deshaun Watson stuff, and they're getting rid of all their players. Back to the Bill O'Brien trading away DeAndre Hopkins thing. It's just been a black cloud, and Easterby has been kind of like the head of that cloud, and the fact that he's gone, and Nick Caserio, who I do believe can be a very quality general manager, and I think he's done quite a good job just to keep this Texans team competitive. Yes, I think they can finally move in the right direction. There's a long way to move. We got to see if Davis Mills is even the quarterback. But if he's not, this is a nice quarterback class coming out. You do have some draft capital after trading Deshaun to Cleveland. Yes, I think there are no negatives to getting rid of Jack Easterby here.
Cool, we agree.
All right, 2 minutes left. Let's talk about Sunday Night Football. Dallas Cowboys. I picked them to cover. I was on this Dallas defense, and I just thought this is the game where Philadelphia comes down. But, man, I was wrong. The Eagles stay undefeated. They got up to a 20-0 lead at one point. Credit to Dallas for fighting back, but Cooper Rush 3 interceptions after having thrown none all season, brought back down to earth. The Eagles, they just keep – we talk about the Giants and Jets finding ways to win. The Eagles do it, but they've done it every week. Even when there's adversity, they get a 20-point lead, and then it comes to within 20-17, and then they just grind out that final scoring drive on the ground, long drives. I love their little rugby scrum, push when they need 1 yard to get Jalen Hurts ahead. And then the defense, the secondary looking great, getting pressure on that Dallas offense. This Eagles team is for real. They're going to stay number 1 in my power rankings as long as they keep winning. I don't care how good the Bills looked.
Yeah, I looked at, I'll make this faster so we can get to MNF, but I looked at the next 4 games that Philadelphia has, and I would not be surprised if they went 9-0. They're playing so well right now, and they're finding weaknesses in every team, and they're beating them. So I think it could happen.
They're in such the driver's seat for the number 1 seed in the NFC right now, because as you mentioned, the fact that they've started 6-0, and to start the season, I think they were listed as the 6th or 7th easiest schedule in the NFL. This is just lining up so well to be the Eagles' year. All right, we've got about 40-ish seconds left. I don't want to go to overtime, so let's talk about Chargers, Broncos. Nathaniel Hackett said they needed to simplify things. We saw how bad that offense has looked. It looked about probably the worst it has looked last primetime game. By the way, can we please stop having the Broncos in primetime? Losing to the Colts
right.
12-9. Is this fixable? Do we think the Chargers have been very susceptible to the run? Do we think Denver can stay run heavy? 5.5. I don't believe in Denver. That's why I'm picking the Chargers to win and to cover. What do you think?
Yeah, I have the Chargers by 12, and I think Justin Herbert really misses Keenan Allen, but he's making it work. So I think they'll come on top this. I think they're going to stop Denver's offense.
Set a 1 minute overtime. I want to give this game
Okay.
a little bit more. This is an AFC West matchup, and it was a matchup that to start the season, we had our eyeballs on, right? You know, I've got the Chargers on paper. I've got them right there with the Bills and the Chiefs as one of the best teams in the AFC, if not the NFL. Oh, Denver, I've been saying it. They only need a quarterback. Well, enter Russell Wilson, presumably future Hall of Famer, and it just hasn't worked. Nathaniel Hackett has had so many coaching issues. The offenses look lackluster. The defenses look good, but they've had injuries. They lost Randy Gregory. They lost Patrick Surtain for a while. He's at least back. Give me a little more insight on this, because I don't think the Chargers won by 12. It's still a division game, but is this salvageable for Denver?
I don't think so. I mean, every time they've been in primetime, they just haven't operated well, and Russell Wilson just hasn't showed up like he was supposed to, and they just can't. I mean, they're good on defense, but they're going to find a way through that, and then Denver's not going to do much on offense. I mean, that's what I think is going to happen. It just hasn't looked good for Denver.
I don't think it'll be a 12-point victory, but I can see the Chargers winning by about 7, which means they'll cover, which would give me a winning record. So on that note, I hope they do. But I also hope Denver's better, because I just would like more exciting football. This is their last chance to prove it in primetime. They do have another primetime game later in the season. That is it. Anthony, thank you for joining me on short notice. We were going to have Tyler Dunn from Go Long. He's got a brand new book, The Blood and Guts, How Tight Ends Save Football, he's going to talk about. He did have something come up. He'll be on the show next Monday. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if Tanner's still in the crowd. We have Tanner Pfeiffer of Pfeiffer Football. He's going to be joining us every Tuesday at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, not only for our fantasy preview, but he's going to give us a little bit of tidbits, little news and notes, little NFL insider info. So make sure to join that. Thank you, guys. Game starts in about 10 minutes. Hopefully it's a good one. Thank you for listening and watching. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.